The most exciting mixed martial arts tournament in America just became the most exciting event in the world. The UFC goes global as the Octagon comes to Japan, land of the rising sun, birthplace of martial arts. New world meets old world, where the tradition of unarmed gladiators matching skills is shrouded in honor and excitement. So tonight, in its Japanese debut, the UFC presents the most electrifying lineup of freestyle action ever. Heavyweight champion Maurice Smith looks to defend his title against the #1 contender, Randy Couture. The UFC also looks to crown its first middleweight champion as Olympic gold medalist Kevin Jackson takes on submission expert Frank Shamrock. And Brazilian phenom Vitor Belfort is back to prove that he is a dominant force in the UFC. Also, don't forget the heavyweight tournament featuring bad boy Tank Abbott and Conan Silveira, another talented Brazilian. From the land of the rising sun, Ultimate Fighting Championship presents Ultimate Japan. Let's open the gates. You're looking at a spectacular view of the Yokohama Bay Bridge with Mount Fuji in the background. Yokohama, Japan, the country's second largest city, is home to 5 of the more than 130 million people who live here. It's a city rich in heritage, culture, and tradition. A city whose technological advances and modernization are evident in the bullet train. Yokohama is the country's largest port, originally opening Japan to all 40 nations. And tonight from Shin Yokohama and the Showcase Arena, Yokohama Arena, we welcome you to Ultimate Japan. And there is the Octagon for the first time outside the United States here at Yokohama Arena in Yokohama, Japan. A great crowd expected today as the UFC has officially gone global. Mike Goldberg, Jeff Blatnick, glad to be here for this universal event. The former gold medalist. Jeff, you are excited, I know, not about one, but 2 championship bouts which are on our card this evening.
Well, it'll start out with the middleweight championship, first ever in the UFC. Submission grappler Frank Shamrock taking on Olympic gold medalist Kevin Jackson. This should be a war, submission grappling versus Olympic wrestling.
And in the heavyweight bout, Randy Couture, the natural, one of the best wrestlers in the universe, against the master striker, the defending champion, Maurice Smith.
Maurice Smith showed everyone how talented he was when he defeated Mark the Hammer Coleman. But Randy Couture had a chance to study those tapes. He feels he's ready by his defeat of Vitor Belfort, the Brazilian sensation. This really promises to be a great matchup, striker versus grappler.
You know, Jeff, it's interesting. They always talk about the UFC, 100% adrenaline, 1,000% pure guts. We're 6,000 miles away, but the question still remains, which Vitor Belfort will we see show up in the Superfight tonight?
Well, without a doubt, his crushing loss to Couture certainly must have had an effect on him. Everyone wants to see how he responds and what kind of character this Carlson Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player has. He'll face veteran Joe Charles in the Superfight tonight. Charles, a veteran of the Octagon.
Veterans, rookies, debuts, experience. It is all right here, right now. Ultimate Japan, the UFC going global. It is the ultimate in competition and a wonderful venue tonight. On the card tonight in our alternate matchup, a man making his UFC debut from Fairview Park, Ohio, now resides in the state of Minnesota. Brad Kohler, a wrestling specialist, will take on submission wrestler Trey Telligman. Telligman, the trauma man, making his second UFC appearance in the heavyweight tournament. An always crowd favorite, Tank Abbott, will take on one of 2 Japanese fighters here in Yokohama. Yoji Anjo enters the Octagon for the first time against the most experienced UFC competitor in Tank Abbott. And then in match number 2 in the heavyweight tournament, it is Marcus Conan Silveira, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist, against Kazushi Sakuraba, another Japanese fighter who has fought a lot in Pancrase and other fights here in Japan, but never entered into the Octagon. Our first ever middleweight championship will feature Frank Shamrock, younger brother of Ken Shamrock, very disciplined in submissions against the Olympic gold medalist, the wrestler Kevin Jackson from Lansing, Michigan. Jackson 2-0 in the UFC. In the Superfight, Joe Charles, the judo master at 38 years old, takes on the 20-year-old phenom, Vitor Belfort. Which Belfort will show up? And in the title match, the heavyweight championship, Randy the Natural Couture will take on Maurice Smith. Couture, with his defeat of Vitor Belfort in UFC 15, is able to be in this matchup against Maurice Smith tonight. Inside the octagon in Yokohama, don't forget the laws. The rules are as such: no biting, no eye gouging, no fish hooking, no headbutting, no hair pulling, no groin strikes, no small joint manipulation, no pressure point strikes, no elbows to the back of the head or neck, and no kicking when a man is down. And the ways to win here in the UFC are by such: by knockout, by submission, if the referee stops the contest, if the corner throws in the towel, by disqualification, and if time expires, 3 judges will render a decision. And our first matchup of the night is an alternate matchup. One man making his UFC debut, and the other his second appearance in the UFC. Reality combat, reality fighting. These are all very specialized fighters who excel in other areas. And for Trey Tellingman, it is submission. That is his discipline. He's 32 years old, 6'2", 228 pounds. He will take on the wrestler Brad Kohler. There is Tellingman. Sculpted wonderfully. Trey Tellingman coming in for his second appearance in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. A very well-rounded man, Trey Trauma Tellingman. 20 years in the martial arts. And Brad Kohler, the 33-year-old from Bloomington, Minnesota, a former resident of Fairview Park, Ohio. The key to Kohler is speed. This is his UFC debut. He said to us earlier, it's an honor to compete with the elite, because this is truly the elite tournament. A proven ground for both, and they are both very focused on the task at hand.
Tellingman, you may notice,
please welcome
what appears to be an indentation on his chest that occurred well back in his life. He's perfectly fine. He's very strong. He's a product of the Lion's Den. Worked with Ken Shamrock, Frank Shamrock, that whole crew. Brad Kohler out of Hammer House. Trains out of Minnesota, but works with legendary UFC champion Mark Coleman. And we really do look forward, Mike, in the future to Coleman returning to the octagon. This should be a great fight. Tall against small. Really, Kohler likes to rely on his fists. Tellingman, his submission holds.
We'd like to remind you some of the ifs, ands, and buts of UFC competition, the ways to win. Number 1, you can win by knockout. Number 2, by submission, the tapping the hand on the mat if the referee stops the contest, if the corner throws in the towel, by disqualification, and if time expires, a judge will render a decision. The alternate bout, 12 minutes with a 3-minute overtime. We are set for our first matchup of the evening. The referee, Joseph Hamilton, the alternate referee, his 11th UFC from Provo, Utah, 9 years in the LA Police Department before moving to Utah, the black belt in Taekwondo.
I really like contrasts in fighters, and these two really have definite contrast from size to discipline.
Speed the key for Kohler. And submissions the key to the big man who has more size at 212 pounds, Trey Tellingman.
Certainly more reach.
Yes. Win in close, that's when Kohler may strike.
Tellingman said he doesn't like to work in the blind, and he really hasn't had an opportunity to study Kohler. But he says he wants to bring his strikes to bear, both on his feet and in the guard position. He says he won't get taken down by Kohler, who is an ex-grappler, wrestler. Tellingman's biggest weapons, his submission holds.
And Kohler is so short and compact, as Tellingman said, stumpy, that could work to the advantage of Brad Kohler. Our alternate bout, the first of the matchup, the first of tonight.
Certainly what Tellingman wants to be careful of is if he throws a punch, if it gets extended and he has to follow through with his feet. Oh, a nice jab. seemed to knock Kohler down. I'm not sure if he tripped or if that actually stunned him. It doesn't appear to have stunned him at all.
He's back up now. A very quiet crowd here in Japan. That is tradition.
Circle out of there,
They are
Brad.
very much examining the fight and showing respect to the fighters. So you'll find a very different atmosphere here tonight in Yokohama Arena than it would be back home in the United States. The double leg, and Kohler is the first to get to the ground.
Successful in getting Teligman down. Now we'll see how much experience Kohler, with a 7-0 record in mixed martial arts competition, some of them in smaller events, but nonetheless he has shown improvement.
A well-rounded fighter now, and Trey Teligman, still a member of the Lion's Den. The fighters, the Shamrock family in California, has worked with veterans like Ken Shamrock and Oleg Tektarov.
He still is part of the Lion's Den, even though Ken Shamrock now has left, and his brother Frank has started what is known now as the Alliance with Maurice Smith, and has started his own school. So the Lion's Den still exists, but the Shamrocks are gone, and Teligman now represents that infamous camp.
Referee Joe Hamilton, as we mentioned, in his 11th UFC, trying to keep things moving. The bout time is 12 minutes with 3-minute overtime if needed.
Nice, nice.
Kohler now in the mount on top of Teligman. He wants to sit up to be able to throw strikes, but he's probably trying to control, trying to force Teligman into spending some energy there before he gets up and picks his spots to strike. Certainly everyone who saw the Coleman fight against Maurice Smith saw Coleman go crazy trying to strike.
Here's some
Smith.
strikes by Kohler now with the right hand. He's got the full mount on Trey Teligman, and he did get some strikes into the head. Now remember, no longer are headbutts permitted in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Kohler had mentioned to us yesterday that because of his compact body, Jeff, he feels that he can strike with force from a short distance. Unlike most boxers, they throw the whole hip and the body into it. He feels those type strikes can be effective against his opponents.
Get his head on the mat.
Certainly any strike has to be set up before you throw it. Kohler feels his shorter arms will be an advantage to him if he's in the mount, since you cannot get any hip or leg into the power of the punch. His shorter arms will be of benefit to him, where Teligman would have a much harder time at trying to have crisp, short punches. But here Kohler now taking a break, gathering himself. There's no need to sprint here. When you're in the mount position, you are in the second most dominant position. The most dominant of all, of course, is taking your opponent's back in position for a rear naked
Get his head
choke.
on the mat.
Kohler here will take his time. I'd like to see him not spend energy in his arms by putting his elbows down. He's holding himself up here, but he looks to try to get some space between Teligman's head and his chest, and that's where he'll go ahead and unload the strikes.
We have gone just over 5 minutes so far here in our alternate matchup. The second appearance in the UFC for Kohler. He lost in UFC 12 to Vitor Belfort in Vitor's debut. Vitor will be featured in the Superfight later tonight. Kohler felt coming into Japan like a man on an island. The first time in the UFC, in a different country. He is in the mount position and has been for a couple of minutes on his opponent, Trey Teligman.
And without improvement, Joe Hamilton felt that there was not enough action, and so he's going to stand them up, and we start the process over from the feet. To this point, Kohler has had the best strikes, and Kohler has had the best grappling skills, so in points thus far, I think it's Kohler.
Let's watch Teligman, if indeed he gets a shot away. He says Kohler's going to get hit for the first time. A good right by Kohler off the arm of Trey Teligman.
Came over the top of that. Teligman threw a lazy jab. Kohler came right over the top.
A little bit of fatigue in the legs right now of Brad Kohler.
There's a cut on the side of Teligman's eye. It's not going to affect his vision whatsoever. Kohler again tries a right hand lead and misses.
The short arms of Kohler and the quick feet of Teligman trying to go away. Now if Teligman tries to close the gap, look again potentially for Kohler to shoot for the double leg.
We'll wait. He will bait Teligman to come at him with a strike, or try to get in so close that he can't miss with a punch, and then try the double. Teligman nearly caught him as he tried to retreat out of that bad shot.
6-1 in mixed martial arts for Teligman. The only loss to Vitor Belfort. 7-0 overall for Kohler. His first time, though, here in the Ultimate.
Trey now seems to be taking charge on his feet, using that jab well to try to set up the right hand.
Here comes Kohler, double leg. Can he force his man down? He does.
Great technique by Kohler. Head on the outside, keep your hips underneath you, back straight. He was able to put Teligman down again.
Tried the full mount before, now he's in the side mount.
See if he tries to change off here and go to the full mount. Didn't seem to have good effectiveness with striking from the full mount. He had a couple flurries, but no real solid punches. Look for Kohler maybe here to put the knee in the chest and try to get 1 or 2 good shots in. Something that he hasn't used is an elbow.
There's the eye of Trey Teligman on the right side. He got caught with the punch from Brad Kohler. We are about halfway through the alternate bout's regulation time of 12 minutes. A 3-minute overtime in the alternate bout here tonight if needed.
That's a very small cut. That is not going to impair the vision at all, but it seems as though Kohler cannot get his head up in order to get good position to strike down. Teligman doing a nice job on defense. Those small punches really aren't, they score, but they really aren't doing any damage.
Now for both these guys, years of blood, sweat, and sacrifice are evident. Kohler trains 4 times a day. He eats 7 times a day. And his workouts go 6 days a week. Cardio has never been a problem for Kohler, but fatigue is always something, Jeff, that we have to keep an eye on in these matches.
Both physical fatigue and mental fatigue, and one would have to wonder, first-timer Kohler, got to be a lot of nerves walking for the first time into the octagon. His manager and trainer, Coleman, is not here, so he may feel very much alone, far away from home. And for the first time in the octagon, that's a lot of mental energy, mental anxiety. He works fanatically on his cardio. That's something that I think he'll be able to maintain throughout this fight.
Now we should watch, because it has not happened yet, but Trey Teligman told us yesterday he will strike from the bottom if given the opportunity. But the mounts have been evident and not the guard so far in this matchup.
And that's been the difference. If he can get Kohler into a full guard, which I can't see the far side, his left leg is definitely around. I'm not sure if his right leg is or not. And he's still only in a half guard, but if he comes into the full guard, Teligman may be able to use his legs, get a little distance, and use elbows to go ahead and strike at Kohler.
Kohler continues to try to punish the left side of Teligman's face, where the cut is already open. And there's a right from the bottom onto Brad Kohler, but he's got a clutch on the arms in the half guard. Still looks like Kohler is able to use a little bit of an advance also. He's trying to work out and past the guard and back into the side mount. And there's a shot.
That right hand hit well. Certainly if it didn't do damage in terms of a real solid punch, it may open up that cut more.
It is opening up more on the left side. 3 minutes left. And once again, Joe Hamilton will bring the guys back up to their feet. And with Teligman, although he's a submission wrestler with his martial arts background, it is possible he'd like to try to punch with the guys.
And again here, the Japanese crowd stays very quiet during the fight, showing respect to the athletes and respect to their fighting skills. There's more cheering from the entourages of both fighters than there is actually from the entire crowd, but that is the culture here.
Teligman wants to get up and punch with Brad Kohler here in this position. Kohler, with 2 double legs, has taken Trey Teligman down twice.
Kohler needs to keep his hands up, as does Teligman, but certainly, oh, there's a beautiful double leg. He's trying to turn the corner and finish.
Can he get the back and go for a submission? Spinning to his back is Teligman. Now
good
on the
strikes.
Corner into the fence, looking for a leg lock.
Now he's looking for some submission here.
Put weight on him.
Get a triangle. Maybe, he's got an arm bar and he had it. Good arm bar by Teligman. He caught Kohler up against the fence in the ensuing scramble. As Kohler tried to mount, his arm became extended. Teligman took full advantage.
Trey Teligman, although Kohler was on top twice and got some shots in, Trey Teligman, a submission specialist, the submission wrestler, defeats Brad Kohler and wins the alternate bout. The tap out by submission, of course, received with the full and ultimate respect here in the Ultimate Fighting Championships as Dr. Richard Istrico comes in quickly and attends to Trey Teligman.
And in all honesty, look at what Teligman did. He gave Kohler his back purposely. And when Kohler came up and around, he went ahead and rolled. They went into the fence, and from there he was able to secure the armbar. Tremendous submission skill by Teligman. This was a great fight up until that point. Give Kohler, his first time in the UFC, a lot of credit. Here's the sequence. A great double by Kohler. Turns the corner, and here Teligman purposely lets him take his back. And as he comes up and around, he does the roll. They hit the fence. And it's at this point here that Teligman let his legs come up, and right there, he's got Kohler's left arm. As he secures that foot around Kohler's head, he now applies the pressure to the elbow, hyperextending the joint. Kohler taps out. Teligman, tremendous skill with that submission hold. He's your winner. There's a good close-up of it. There's Kohler tapping, left arm straightened out, pressure on the elbow joint.
It comes at 10-10 as that man Trauma, Trey Teligman, wins the alternate match. Let's go upstairs to Bruce Buffer.
Trauma Teligman.
10分10秒
Let's
勝
have
者
a big
ブラ
hand
ッ
for
ク
the
リーグマン
challenger, Mr. Brad Kohler.
So Trauma defeats Kohler. Brad Kohler, in his UFC debut, used his speed, got Teligman down to the mat, but Trey Teligman said when he lost in UFC 12 to Vitor Belfort, that was not the Trey Teligman that everyone needs to know. Today, with a submission hold, he was able to introduce himself once again to the world with the victory over Kohler. Trey Teligman with my partner, Jeff Blatnick.
Trey, that was a heck of a fight. It was real close, but you told us yesterday you had a sneaky surprise for him. You were going to give him your back.
Yep, I did, and worked against him. So, yeah, I didn't have a lot of mobility in this fight, and it showed. Great competitors, good takedowns, better than I thought they'd be.
Is this something that you studied with other wrestlers that you felt that they may not be prepared for, that kind of role, looking for the armbar?
Yeah, actually, I trained with Willie Thompson out of Dallas. Who's an unbelievable wrestler. Willie, thanks, buddy.
Well, great job, Trey. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks.
Trey Teligman wins the alternate matchup against Brad Kohler with the submission hold for the submission specialist. Still ahead, our heavyweight tournament, David Tank Abbott about to enter the octagon. The Tank. Let's meet him. One of the most famous mugs in the UFC belongs to bad boy brawler David Tank Abbott, a power puncher who loves to punish. He possesses two of the most feared fists in freestyle fighting. He devastated John Matua, demolished Paul Varlins, brutalized Tiktarov, and continued his onslaught in the UFC. He pounded Ferozzo. He hoisted Warsham and finished him off. He knocked out Nelmark. Finally, he bloodied Don Fry. Win or lose, the bad boy brawler from Southern California can be counted on to take the fight to his opponent and make him know he's in the octagon with one of the most fearsome sluggers in mixed martial arts. Well, as we always witness the ultimate in places across the United States and also now for the first time overseas here at Yokohama Arena in Shin, Yokohama, Japan, we'd like to remind you that you can be part of the action by dialing us up on the internet, surfing to our website, www.ufclive.com. That's www.ufclive.com. You'll have the opportunity via your computer to witness everything that occurs inside the octagon live on the internet. You sit and watch and stand through the cities here in Japan and see how the technological advances are so great. It just is appropriate that we have now been able to break through on the internet and bring you great action. And of course, throughout the year, you can check on your favorite fighters in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and our other websites around your home computer, ufclive.com, to check out the Ultimate in Combat. It is the ultimate test of skill and will, style and dial, and tonight not one but two championship belts will be rewarded inside the octagon that has come all across the seas into Japan. Our heavyweight tournament has some great competitors in it tonight here in Yokohama, inside Yokohama Arena. Two Japanese fighters competing tonight, including Yoji Anjo, a submission specialist, 30 years old, born in Tokyo.
This man is no stranger to the octagon. He is a veteran of Ultimate 95 and a runner-up at UFC 6 and Ultimate 96. He stands 6 feet tall and weighs in at 275 pounds. He's the pit fighter from Huntington Beach, California. Let's welcome David Tank Abbott! And his opponent, standing to my right, he's a submission wrestler from Japan's Kingdom team. He has a mixed martial arts record of 14-2. Hailing from Tokyo, Japan, standing 5 feet, 10 inches tall, and weighing in at 220 pounds. Please welcome Yoji Anjo! And when the action begins, our referee...
Undoubtedly, David Tank Abbott has the size advantage, coming in at 275 pounds to the 220 reported on Anjo. 2 inches taller is Abbott, 2 years older is Abbott, much more experienced in the octagon is Abbott. Joe Hamilton officiated the first match, now inside the octagon, the third man in the octagon with Abbott and Anjo, our referee, Big John McCarthy.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on!
And there it is time to get it on, the first match of the heavyweight tournament. Abbott would like to strike and strike quickly.
He puts him up against the fence. Watch for Tank Abbott to try to...
He lifts him and jams him down. Abbott attacking near the fence and gets a shot in on Anjo.
That was a good, solid right hand to Anjo's head.
And now with the left comes Tank Abbott. And the right with an elbow strike.
Anjo puts Abbott in the guard. He's doing his best to cover up.
Delivering rights and left on Yoji Anjo.
And you have to wonder, has Anjo ever experienced this in his other fights? Someone this powerful striking down on him.
Now, as long as one hand is on the fence and strikes are being thrown, Big John McCarthy will not call a stall. If there is a situation where there is a stall on the mat and no action, the fighters will come back to their feet. Abbott undoubtedly, though, is striking frequently.
And certainly what... This is tough with Anjo pushed straight up into that fence. He has nowhere to go in that guard position, which makes him a stationary target for Abbott to go ahead and strike down. Also, Kingdom have open palm strikes as opposed to fists.
As you mentioned, a little bit of maybe revenge in the eyes of Tank Abbott, as 2 of his fighters were defeated a couple of nights ago in a Kingdom fight here in Japan by 2 of Yoji Anjo's teammates with Kingdom.
Abbott here measuring Anjo now. He's not rushing it. Starting to take his time.
Abbott in much better condition than in UFC 15, Jeff. When he said himself he came from the bar stool to the octagon to fight Maurice Smith for the title. Well, he was physically now in the best position ever.
He was a late entry to face Maurice Smith. And here he's had plenty of time to train.
Now, Anjo certainly took some punishment early, but did not tap out, and now is in a bad position with his head up into the fence.
And he's enduring just fine here, staying composed, but he's not in a good position. He cannot really move unless he can get his head pointed towards the center of the octagon. Another right hand by Tank Abbott. And Abbott will be allowed to grab the fence as long as he's striking. If he stops striking, he must let go of the fence.
Now, we have said before, the UFC is where the big boys come to play. Their playpen is the octagon, and the octagon a very different arena than Anjo is accustomed to. And with the closed punches, as opposed to what he's accustomed to, how much damage and how much punishment will he be able to withstand?
Well, at this point, it's no problem. Anjo covering up well, but that still has to be a lot of discomfort in that position. And he's able to get his head free, and it's moved.
Now Abbott striking again with the right.
And Anjo's bringing his legs up. He's looking for something here to go ahead and catch Abbott in a submission. He's got an arm bar. He's got an arm bar. He's working an arm bar, but as long as Tank stays in against the fence, he's really not going to be able to extend the elbow.
And the Japanese crowd reacts to the potential arm bar.
Abbott's working his head around the leg. That's what he needs to do to take the pressure off.
Now he's trying to strike again. Breaks out of the arm bar to Tank Abbott. You heard the reaction of the crowd, who is very intelligent, knowledgeable in the mixed martial arts competitions. They also know this fighter, Yoji Anjo, very well. They could see the potential arm bar coming.
No doubt about it. When the legs move up towards the head, and the person who's got the guard, that is when the person in the guard is most vulnerable. Arm bars, triangle chokes, etc.
The chant of Anjo from the crowd in Yokohama.
And Anjo able to now get back to his feet. Let's see whether or not he's going to be able to come up with some kind of strategy or tactic to get back in this fight.
When there is not an opportunity for the fighter to be in the offensive anymore, when they are on the ground, that is when Big John McCarthy brings them back to their feet. We are just over 4 minutes in to heavyweight tournament number 1.
And Anjo's left eye looks pretty puffy.
Anjo looking fatigued.
Takedown by Abbott. Anjo immediately puts him in his guard.
Different position than we saw with the takedown the first time.
Elbow by Anjo there. Now they settle down. Seems though Tank now is getting composed, looking to move up. But once again, Anjo makes the mistake of leaving his head near the fence. And you can bet Abbott's going to drive it into the fence and look to strike again. But Anjo did that sneaky little bit where he brought the legs up when he was pinned up against the fence. Let's see if he's able to do it again.
Safe to say, Anjo weathered the first storm by Tank, but Tank also avoided a possible arm lock, and so both have weathered one storm. We are 5 minutes in, 7 minutes now remaining in regulation time here in our heavyweight tournament, fight number 1.
Well, anyone who thought Anjo may not be able to stand up to Tank has to think again. Yes, he is losing this fight in points, but he has been able to withstand the best that Abbott's been able to throw at him thus far, and really had Abbott in trouble for a brief moment.
Yesterday here in Japan at the press conference, there was a little gamesmanship going back and forth between Tank Abbott and Yoji Anjo. Yoji Anjo said he would strike Abbott, put it in a submission, one he's never felt before. He'll hit him hard. Tank Abbott said, uh-oh. Then later in the press conference, Abbott said, he's going to strike me, I'll strike him more, I'll strike him harder. Anjo, who does speak very good English, came back, picked up the microphone and said, uh-oh, both prepared and ready for the matchup here this evening.
But I've got to give Anjo credit. He really is doing well. Now he's bringing the legs up again, looking to try and find some kind of submission lock on Abbott. And Abbott now collapses down, goes back to trying to get his composure, gather up a little energy, and then he'll again release a bunch of strikes.
Of course, the submission specialist, Jeff, is looking for Abbott maybe to overcommit, extend himself, and then put a submission on him. So Abbott, although looking to be in a dominant position, is in the guard of Yoji Anjo, and Yoji Anjo will try to be effective from that spot.
One thing you got to remember is this is a tournament, and one has to wonder if Tank really was prepared to go that
Now striking from the bottom on the back of the head. And Tank Abbott is Yoji Anjo trying to get up and get the legs around. Still in the guard. Abbott looking to pass.
Actually, maybe a guillotine choke. Again, he's leaving the legs up, looking for an arm. That's to keep Abbott from raising up like that right now and strike. He survived in his guard very well.
7 minutes now. All right. Regulation time. Abbott with some more strikes to the right head. to the right sides with the right hand, Tank Abbott.
It really does appear here that Tank is unable to pass Angel's guard. Totally unsuccessful. He is scoring with some of those punches, and some of them are very clean, but those, even though they bother you, aren't real bad hits. I'd hate to be the one receiving them, Mike, but those really aren't that bad.
Remember, no headbutting any longer, no biting, no eye gouging, no fish hooking, no hair pulling. Groin strikes, no small joint manipulation, no pressure, point strikes, no elbows to the back of the head and neck, and no kicking when a man is down or to the kidneys. We have seen none of that yet in our alternate, nor our first matchup here in the heavyweight tournament between Tank Abbott, the street fighter, 32 years old, and Yoji Anjo, the 30-year-old from here in Tokyo. John McCarthy very close to the action. We'll see if there is an opportunity again where neither fighter can take an advantage from the ground if indeed they'll get stood back up. That has happened once already.
Tank just doesn't seem to help. It seemed as though Tank was resting during the game. I tell you what, Tank's not performing minus this week. But it's clear Tank has spent a lot of energy. So has Anjo. The winner of this will be Fatigue going into their second round, possibly at the heavyweight tournament.
Under 3 minutes left. Anjo back up with Tank Abbott for the second time. Abbott seconds in the best position, conditioning-wise of his life. Takes 2 leg strikes, tries to counter with the arm strikes.
And Anjo seems to have some good energy. He's able to stay outside of Tank. Anjo, pretty good right hand.
Moved in, and now with the leg strike again, it's answered by Tank Abbott. Abbott shoves him into the octagon. About 2 minutes now left here in regulation time.
Tank doesn't need to take him down. He's scoring well on his feet when he goes down. He gets tied up in this guard. Certainly Angel's been totally ineffective at hurting Tank from the guard. Has had those opportunities. One really good one for the arm bar, but since then he's really been unable to muster any energy or really any effective attack from the bottom.
Jeff, we saw Tank lean down to the knees for just a moment when the fighters were up. Somewhat fatigued, obviously, but you never know with any of our competitors out here when they lean down if they're not trying to play a little possum and bring that guy in to strike and then counter back.
I believe a lot of people thought Tank would handle Anjo within just a couple minutes with his powerful strikes. But Anjo in that submission wrestling, he understands the guard, he understands defense, and really never having faced closed fists, he's weathering the strikes of Abbott very, very well.
And the strikes came with flurry in the beginning of this matchup. And that's when Tank, as he would like to do with most fights, tried to put it away. But Tank, a much more patient and more disciplined fighter than the man who first came in as a rough and raw fighter. The transformation of David Tank Abbott into more of a competitor in this event has been one that he has taken a lot of pride in. Under 1 minute left here in our heavyweight tournament, battle number 1. The evolution to incorporate more technique for Tank Abbott shows his patience in the guard, trying to get some of his wind and energy back.
Well, he needs to be careful again. If he's going to leave his right arm there, you can tell Anjo's looking to try to bring the leg up. He's pinned up against the fence again. And if Abbott raises up too high and extends that arm, he might find himself again battling against an arm bar.
30 seconds away from an overtime period, which would last 3 minutes. Anjo is bloodied up. Abbott trying to pass his guard again. Anjo up high. Abbott delivers a couple of rights as they are up against the fence in the octagon. 750 square feet, 32 feet across, occupied by 2 dominant competitors in 12 minutes, comes to an end. A 3-minute overtime looms ahead.
Well, certainly I think Abbott is tired. His offense sort of slowed down there at the end, though he was able to strike Anjo there in the last few seconds. But give Anjo a lot of credit. Tank still on course, seeking his first UFC title.
The criteria for a judge's decision: aggressiveness, striking, and grappling. Mr. Fukasi from Shuto, Japan's fighting organization, John Peretti, former kickboxing champion and Jean Labelle grappler, and Joe Hamilton, our alternate referee with over 20 years experience in the martial arts, are the judges for tonight's contest. Big John McCarthy, of course, the UFC chief referee, set to get the overtime period underway. 3 minutes remains. Abbott and Anjo.
Abbott the brawler, Anjo the submission grappler, but certainly Tank has tried to improve his boxing skills working with Jesse Reed. He's been able to strike Anjo from both the guard and on his feet. I believe he leads this fight right now. But certainly I think he has gone a lot longer than a lot of fans felt in the United States, and probably a lot longer than Tank felt this would last.
Oh, a knee by Anjo. Anjo trying to deliver the kick. Tank, when he leaned in, delivered a shot. Neither really connected. Now he's jammed down tight. And Tank Abbott back on top of Yoji Anjo.
And again, it's up by the fence. You would think Anjo would try to keep it near the center where he doesn't get pushed into the fence. A position he really can't improve from.
Halfway in the guard here, Jeff, is Tank Abbott. Now a shot from the bottom, doing no damage to David Abbott, the 32-year-old. The brawler from Huntington Beach has no love or respect for the martial arts or their practitioners. He loves to compete in this event. The ultimate showcase for the ultimate in fighting, Ultimate Japan. For the first time, the UFC going global. There you get a look at one leg in the guard. The half guard being applied by Yoji Anjo.
This is where the fight is taking place, almost exclusively up against the fence. Anjo's head pinned. He's unable to really improve his position from there. And when you become a stationary target, you're going to get hit.
Remember, striking is one of the criteria the judges will use in rendering their decision. And this one right now looks like it will go the distance.
It also looks, though, in terms of aggressiveness, Tank has all the takedowns. In terms of striking, Tank clearly has outpunched Anjo. And in grappling skills, the takedowns, and he hasn't been able to pass the guard, but he's been effective striking. And Anjo doing a really good job of defense for his first UFC appearance, particularly facing fists like Tank Abbott's.
Under 1 minute remaining. Now about 30 seconds remaining in our 3-minute overtime.
And I'll tell you what, this is really fatiguing for Abbott. I really don't believe he felt this fight would go this far.
Anjo on the bottom looks exhausted.
And he again now is in a position, he's got the legs up high. He is looking for anything to submit Abbott, anything at all.
And maybe, as you said with the judges, looking at the aggressiveness, he needs a submission to win.
Oh, without a doubt, he's behind. He's very far behind. We're winding down.
Final seconds. And the horn sounds here in Yokohama Arena. Tank Abbott and Yoji Anjo go the distance, a total of 15 minutes. And the judges now will render their decision.
I have to give Anjo a lot of credit. I think people looked right past him. I think Tank may have looked past him. Anjo gave a credible performance in there, really unable to hurt Tank Abbott, but able to endure anything Abbott was able to throw at him. Good defense in the guard. Tank able to win this fight, I believe. We have not heard the decision yet, but I think he is very fatigued at this moment, and certainly that could come into play in his next fight. Really be able to recover, be fresh, and be effective throughout that fight.
He will, if he does, earn the judge's decision, take on the winner of Conan Silveira and Kazushi Sakuraba, our next two competitors. The judges have rendered a decision. We will go up into the ring for the voice inside the octagon in his 5th UFC, Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 overtime, the judges have made a unanimous decision for the winner, David Tank Abbott! Let's have a big round of applause for a very game challenger, and Mr. Yoji Anjo.
David "Tank" Abbott advances.
Abbott able to get double leg takedowns, keeping his head under and dropping, and even though it looked as though Anjo might get a guillotine choke, Abbott able to come up into the guard, and this is where Anjo spent most of the fight, with his head pushed up against the fence, where he really wasn't able to move in that guard position, and Abbott, having a stationary target, hit him several times.
So the judges render their decision, and David "Tank" Abbott, exhausted after 15 minutes of competition, has to have respect for the punishment delivered to Anjo and the fact that he did not break down, but he renders the decision with the aggressiveness and the striking ability that was used throughout that matchup. He is now upstairs with Jeff Blatnick.
Tank, congratulations on your victory first and foremost. Any injuries?
Yeah, I hurt my left hand at the beginning of the fight, so I had to suck it up and go for it.
Most importantly, did you feel that you would be able to take Anjo out early, and did he surprise you with his defense?
He was tougher than I expected. I was virtually a one-hand fighter. I was throwing some lefts. I was sucking it up. It hurt, but what the hell? That's what fights are about. You don't stop in the middle and say, hey, my hand hurts. You keep going.
Well, Tank, we wish you the best of luck. Rest up. We'll look for you later.
Okay.
Back to you, Mike.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. "Tank" Abbott advances. We will see him later tonight here on pay-per-view in the heavyweight tournament final. We will also see tonight the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the World between the natural Randy Couture, who was the upset winner over Vitor Belfort in UFC 15, and Maurice Smith, the striker, the two-time defending champion. And also coming up in the UFC middleweight bout, Frank Shamrock against the Olympic gold medalist Kevin Jackson. Submission against wrestling. It's all forthcoming. The Olympian Kevin Jackson, a great story. His competitive days here in the UFC, just highlighting a brilliant career, which includes a gold medal in Barcelona. Let's take a look at Kevin Jackson. Olympic gold wrestler Kevin Jackson is pound for pound the finest wrestler in the world. Jackson blasted into the octagon in UFC 14. In his first fight, he made quick work of karate champion Todd Butler, proving he is a wrestler who can grapple and punch. He went on to demolish jiu-jitsu black belt Anthony Strickland to win the middleweight tournament. Jackson's strength, skill, and ferocious will to win overwhelmed the competition. Tonight, Kevin Jackson is back to solidify his claim to the title, seeking the win in tonight's bout with submission specialist Frank Shamrock. The Ultimate Fighting Championship has gone global, and we have had two bouts already, as Tank Abbott a victor and Trey Telligman in the alternate matchup also a victor. Now the heavyweight tournament continues, as we will see Marcus Conan Silveira take on the second of our Japanese fighters, Kazushi Sakuraba, a submission wrestling specialist and a teammate of Yoji Anjo. The octagon is here in Japan, out of the United States for the first time ever. The ultimate proving ground for the ultimate in combat. Traveled on a ship for many days and was constructed by the fine helpers here in this country, which has been so gracious in inviting the ultimate of ultimate fighting championships inside its doors here at Yokohama Arena. The tale of the tape between Sakuraba and Silveira. Silveira, 5 years the elder of the submission specialist in Sakuraba, and much bigger at 6'2.5" for Conan, 240 pounds, 5'9", 203 pounds for Kazushi Sakuraba. Inside the octagon, it's Bruce Buffer.
Our next elimination bout begins with the fighter standing to my left. He comes to us from Japan's Team Kingdom, a submission fighter who weighs in at 203 pounds. He stands 6 feet tall. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kazushi Sakuraba. And his opponent, standing to my right, He is the 1994 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion with a mixed martial arts record of 29-1. He stands 6 feet, 2 inches tall and weighs in at 240 pounds. Hailing from Miami Beach, Florida, and making his UFC debut, please welcome Marcus Conan Silva.
Now remember, as we told you at the top, the crowds in Japan different than in the U.S. They will show great respect for the athletes in the octagon. Only yell when someone is in close to a submission. We are ready to go. Heavyweight tournament title number 2. Sakuraba against Silva. Now living in Miami Beach. Came over from Brazil when he was 23 years old. Trained and worked with by his brother Marcelo. And Carlson Gracie is also here in attendance to watch one of his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialists who is taken to his back by Sakuraba here.
And Sakuraba with a nice shot there from fairly far out, but it looks as though Silva now is looking to get a leg lock. They both are looking for leg locks.
Both looking for a submission quickly. A strike with the leg up towards the head of Kazushi Sakuraba. Born in Akita, Japan, which is southern Japan, and now lives here in Tokyo. Half excited, half nervous about this event. Speaks no English, as we mentioned. Never trains in striking, although he is surprisingly good in that. He would prefer a submission, as would Conan Silva.
Oh, what a kick by Conan there. Cuts Sakuraba there on the side of the face from his back. He's also got a hold of Sakuraba's arm and leg there. Now he's behind him. He's got his back. Look for him to try to go to a choke here somewhere. Also, he needs to be careful. If his head comes to the side, he could get elbowed. There it is.
These guys knew nothing about each other coming in. Looking for a submission hold. Conan Silva has got the left arm wrenched of Kazushi Sakuraba, and Sakuraba turns around.
And he is really working on that arm, looking to submit Sakuraba in the hold.
Oh, he delivers a left and a right to Conan. Now delivering a flurry of jabs. And he gets Sakuraba up against the octagon fence. And Big John McCarthy wants to check and see if Sakuraba's okay.
That's it. New fight. That's it.
The match is over.
Oh my gosh.
That's it.
Big John McCarthy felt Sakuraba was in trouble there.
He went down. He was out. He was out. He was out. He was out. That's it. End of the fight.
John McCarthy says he was out.
He went out.
That's the end of the fight. Sakuraba disagrees. McCarthy has rendered his decision. It is final.
No, he went out.
This is a tough call for John McCarthy. He felt that Conan hit him with a good, solid right hand, and that he momentarily went out. McCarthy's responsibility is the safety of the fighters, and he called it. And Sakuraba is puzzled. He seems fine. He has all his senses here. But at the time of the punch is what counts, and McCarthy has made his decision. A short fight for Silva, and certainly that will help him
we have a
in the
winner
tournament
by
final.
knockout, Marcus Conan Silva.
Sakuraba is distraught. Silva. Now Sakuraba trying to work the microphone away from Bruce Buffer in the ring. Sakuraba now shakes the hand and respect shown by both fighters in the octagon. Sakuraba obviously upset with the stopping of the fight. McCarthy felt he was out for a moment and in trouble.
And here's the replay here, checking out the punching. And here's a couple of shots here that made John McCarthy feel as though Sakuraba was out on his feet. Those are all hitting. There's the left hand that clearly rocked him. And when he went down, perhaps McCarthy felt he was falling down. Either way, he called the fight on that good left uppercut that hit him.
The reaction ultimately of respect for the fellow fighter by Kazushi Sakuraba, the submission wrestler. But disappointed with not having the opportunity to fight more. But the most important thing that everyone needs to remember is the safety of these fighters. And it's John McCarthy's ultimate responsibility, a heavy responsibility, Jeff, to make sure that no one is hurt in a bad way. And it was his judgment, used effectively there, to make sure that no further damage could be done to Kazushi Sakuraba.
Looking at that video, without a doubt, it seemed as though after that left hand, Sakuraba fell forward onto his knees, and I believe John McCarthy felt he was out at that point.
Here is one more look at the flurry that came to McCarthy's decision to stop the fight.
When you see Conan Silva start to unload, a lot of these are catching arm, but that left hand, and right there, as he went down, McCarthy immediately reacted, so he felt he was out on the way down. Another look here, a couple of rights, and then that left right there got through, and you can see him drop. McCarthy felt at that point he was out, and he stopped the fight.
Ultimate Japan today, and in the month of March, we will go down to Bayou Country and be in New Orleans for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, number 16 in New Orleans, coming up in March on the 13th, a 9 o'clock start on pay-per-view. You're witnessing with us, thankfully, tonight, Ultimate Japan, and on the 13th of March, Ultimate Fighting Championship 16 in New Orleans. Frank Shamrock, his brother Ken, no stranger to the octagon. Frank Shamrock about to make his octagon debut and look for a submission. The former king of Pancrase, Frank Shamrock, is on a roll. He has rededicated himself to the ring, and his hard work is paying off. His recent successes include victories in the Contenders, the Rings, and the Vale Tudo of Japan. 3 separate tournaments against 3 world-class opponents. Now Frank Shamrock looks to step outside the shadow of his brother, UFC legend Ken Shamrock. Tonight, he makes his first appearance in the toughest tournament of all. Ultimate Japan will be his proving ground to show the world he is a worthy and deserving opponent. When all is said and done, Frank Shamrock hopes to join the elite of Octagon champions. There is Frank Shamrock getting set for the first ever middleweight championship in UFC history. He's been working some striking skills with the master striker Maurice Smith, who will be featured in our heavyweight champion. He said it's like having new toys. And the alliance debuts tonight with Shamrock, the submission wrestler, getting set to take on Jackson. Here is Conan Silva, and the fight stopped a moment ago against Sakuraba.
And that left hand right there, Sakuraba falling to his knees. McCarthy felt he was out, and he called the fight.
And John McCarthy came to us a moment ago, and he said, as we mentioned, the most important thing is the fighter's safety. Tank Abbott did defeat Yoji Anjo, but in the process suffered a broken hand.
He apparently broke his left hand. He struck Anjo many, many times in this fight. Said it happened early in the fight, and that the rest of the fight he was fighting basically as a right-handed fighter. But nonetheless, because of that broken hand, he will be unable to continue.
So after review, the UFC sanctioning body had ruled that Silva versus Sakuraba was stopped too early. Abbott with the broken hand. So Silva and Sakuraba will fight again tonight here on pay-per-view in the tournament final. McCarthy's decision stands, but because of the broken hand and after the review, the UFC sanctioning body ruling that Silva versus Sakuraba was stopped too early, they will meet again here on our program. Getting set for our first ever middleweight championship here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship in Ultimate Japan. Frank Shamrock, the Universal Submission Specialist, against Kevin Jackson.
Beginning with the fighter standing to my left, a 3-time U.S. national champion, a 3-time world champion, and the 1992 Olympic freestyle gold medalist. He is undefeated in the octagon and the winner of the UFC 14 Middleweight Tournament. He comes to us from Lansing, Michigan, standing 5 feet, 10 inches tall, and weighing in at 199 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kevin Jackson! And the fighter standing to my right, he is the founder of the Universal Submissions Academy, the 1995 WKC Submission Champion, and a former 1996 King of Pancrase with a mixed martial arts. He has a record of 20-4, standing 5 feet, 10 inches tall, and weighing in at 193 pounds. He comes to us from Sunnyvale, California, now making his UFC debut. Please welcome Frank Shamrock!
A man who is good at the game, Frank Shamrock, Universal Submission Specialist against the wrestler Kevin Jackson. The only thing different is the age, as both of these guys had to weigh in for this middleweight championship. 8 years the elder is Kevin Jackson. And it was interesting, there were some pre-game quotes, if you will, made by Frank Shamrock. He said wrestlers need a little lesson in submission. I'm the person to teach them. Jackson commented yesterday he was intrigued by the pre-fight quotes.
Are you ready?
Our first of 2 championships, the middleweight division. Shamrock and Jackson now underway.
Many felt Shamrock lacked stand-up fighting skills, but the alliance with Maurice Smith.
Let's go right down, right down.
Devastating knee. Oh, and there's a submission on Jackson's elbow already. Frank Shamrock bounced right into an arm bar. My Lord, what a quick fight.
Frank Shamrock with the arm bar on Kevin Jackson. Just seconds into the matchup, and Frank Shamrock, the younger brother of Ken, took barely any time at all to come out of his older brother's shadow and become the first ever middleweight champion in the UFC. It took just 22 seconds.
The two engaged in the middle, looking to set up some strikes. There was Jackson. He rushed into Shamrock. Once he rushed him, he went to take him down. Shamrock hit the fence, and when they landed, Jackson extended his right arm. Shamrock seized it, brought his legs up, and right there when he hooks his head, he sinks it tight. Now it's just a battle of the entire strength of Shamrock's body against the isolated arm of Jackson, and it's no contest. Shamrock a winner in just 22 seconds. Here, once again, another quick look. The whole idea of submission is extension. And once Shamrock left his right arm out there, Jackson left his right arm out there. Shamrock moved his legs up high on the head, able to sink the hold tight, won this first ever middleweight championship.
There is the celebration. It took just 22 seconds. Wrestlers need a little lesson in submission. I'm the person to teach him. The quote by Shamrock comes true. Frank Shamrock is the middleweight champion. For the decision, here's Bruce Buffer.
Tap out, and the first ever UFC middleweight champion of the world, Frank Shamrock!
So Frank Shamrock in just 22 seconds now sports the first ever UFC middleweight crown. Frank Shamrock came from the Lion's Den. It is no more for Frank Shamrock. He is now in an alliance with Maurice Smith. It was his debut to establish his identity, but this is a man, Frank Shamrock, has been in a game a long time. Bob Myritz, the commissioner, up in the ring a moment ago, and now Frank Shamrock, the middleweight champion of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Jeff Blatnick is there, as you can see, being interviewed by Japanese television right now. is Frank
すごく
Shamrock.
ね、ラッキー
Today's
でした。
event
本当にね、
being
うまくね、パンパン
broadcast
パンと決まっ
live
てく
on
れたのでよかっ
Nippon
たです。
TV. And that will show you the great interest in this country, the birthplace of martial
Fighting in
arts,
Japan, how do you
in
feel
this
now?
Ultimate Japan,
I love fighting in
the
Japan.
Ultimate
I love
Fighting
the Japanese.
Championship.
I love the fighting spirit. And I was just glad that I could pull it off tonight for the fans here in Yokohama.
もうね、日本は大好き、日本人も大好き、皆さんね、本当にね、こういうファイティングのね、ファンの方が多くって、そんなファンの皆様のために、僕のこういう姿を見てもらえてよかったです。
We have this week witnessed a lot of interpreters helping the U.S. fighters and Brazilian fighters to communicate with the Japanese and vice versa.
Yes, and I'll be that way for a long time.
ずっとミドル級のチャンピオンでいるつもりです。
Congratulations being given to Frank Shamrock. Don't forget, still ahead, our second championship bout between the natural Randy Couture and one of the finest kickboxers, if not the finest kickboxer in the world, Maurice Smith. Couture Smith still lies ahead here this evening, as does the heavyweight tournament final. But still, on our card, the Superfight, the return of the Brazilian phenom, Vitor Belfort. The phenom will take on the judo specialist at 38 years old, the ghetto man Joe Charles. Our Superfight here in Ultimate Japan will be a wonderful bout. Now we look forward to the matchup between Vitor Belfort and Joe Charles, but the middleweight champion is Frank Shamrock. My partner Jeff Blatnick is inside the octagon.
Frank, first of all, congratulations. First middleweight champion of the UFC. And did you really think this could happen so quickly, the fight?
I had no idea, Jeff. I trained my butt off. I had a lot of good people helping me, and I'd like to say thanks to a few people, my brother, my dad for getting me started, all the boys at Lions Den for keeping me up, Javier, my boxing coach, Maurice, of course, all the boys that have helped me. I got a bunch of people, and that's the reason I'm here today, and that's the reason I won.
Why do you think you won? What did you see that you felt so much confidence that your submission skill would win?
I studied his fights. I studied his tapes. He's an awesome wrestler. He's an elite athlete. I prepared for the worst. I just saw a few holes in the wrestling ability and in his fighting style, and I capitalized on it. I think I got lucky, but I was prepared.
Well, congratulations. We wish you the best of luck.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Thanks.
Losing for the first time in the UFC is Kevin Jackson, defeated in 22 seconds by Frank Shamrock. He says, "I'll always be Ken's little brother." Tonight, he was the big man, the champion in the middleweight decision that took just 22 seconds with the armbar. Frank Shamrock, the new champion. Joe Charles, Vitor Belfort in tonight's super fight. It is the fourth appearance in the UFC for Joe Charles at 38 years old. Born in Los Angeles, lives in Culver City, California. And there is the Brazilian phenom, Vitor Belfort, just 20 years old, waiting in the corridors of Yokohama Arena.
A protege of jiu-jitsu legend Carlson Gracie, Vitor Belfort roared into the octagon in UFC 12. He defied the expectations of fans who have come to expect Brazilians to take the fight to the ground and wage a war of attrition. Belfort relied on his fists, using blinding hand speed and pinpoint accuracy. In UFC 13, Belfort stopped Tank Abbott in just 53 seconds. Everyone assumed the only thing standing between the Brazilian and the championship belt was time. In UFC 15, no one expected Randy Couture, the world-class Greco-Roman wrestler, to stop the phenom from Rio in the title elimination bout. But Couture had an upset up his sleeve. He overwhelmed the Brazilian and won by a TKO. Now, Belfort's back and seeking redemption, ready to show that he is worthy of the acclaim and respect he once commanded.
Inside the octagon, standing by Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our featured super fight of the evening. Beginning with the fighter standing to my right. He's a veteran of UFC 4 and UFC 5 and the Ultimate 95. He is a black belt in the art of judo. He comes to us from Culver City, California, standing 6 feet, 1 inch tall, and weighing in at 265 pounds. Please welcome Joe, the Ghetto Man, Charles! And his opponent, standing to my left, he is a 3-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion and the #1 rated Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter in the world. He stands 6 feet, 1 inch tall and weighs in at 213 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vitor Belfort!
I think it's important that we remember the jiu-jitsu background of Vitor Belfort. As you look at the tail of the tape, it's truly age against experience. The 20-year-old against the 38-year-old, a size advantage in weight goes to Joe Charles at 265 pounds. It's the super fight. It's Belfort's chance to return from the adversity of his loss in UFC 15 to Couture, his first ever loss since he was just 9 years old.
Okay,
Big John McCarthy, the third man inside the octagon. Super fight is underway.
Belfort's got fast hands. It'll be interesting to see if he wants to use them to try to soften up Joe Charles. But it was Charles who said he wants to soften up Belfort on his feet before taking him down.
And Belfort also said he may choose to grapple a bit if given the opportunity here in this super fight.
And he starts off with grappling. He went right in, double underhook into Joe Charles. Pushes him in against the fence. Look for him to use his legs to try to trip the big man down to the ground. And here, okay, Charles immediately tried to get him in the guard, but Belfort stayed to the side. He has a side mount now. He'll probably try to raise up and strike.
Belfort with great quickness.
Knee in the stomach here to try to post. Let's see if he steps across and goes to a full mount. And that's what he does.
Charles has said, I want to meet him, bring his game into my world, and bring him down. But in a full mount, trying to get back into the guard now is Charles. Vitor Belfort on the ground.
Armbar, he's going to try to bring his left leg up and around and step across Joe Charles' body, and if he does that, that's a key lock as well. That's a key lock.
He's got the left arm, and good spot there, Vitor Belfort. He said he might not punch. He's boxed in his other UFC appearances. He said, I've got great grappling skills. I may choose to use them here tonight in Ultimate. Now he's turned around to his back.
Charles, a great roll there, putting Vitor just for a moment on his back, but Charles has ground skill because he lives in the area where Vitor trains. But here at the UFC, we have yet to see Belfort effectively grapple on the ground. And it appears that he's come out here with an attitude. He is going to show the world what he's capable of with his jiu-jitsu skills. He had a key lock on Charles. Again, he's in a position where if he brings his right leg over Charles' stomach, he could go for the armbar. Again, he passes on it. It's a wait and feel. Charles knows submissions. So Vitor's going to have to work hard here to go ahead and catch the bigger man.
Now, it's been stated by some before that guys like Belfort, Nixon, and Gracie are the best in the world on the ground.
He's got his back here. If Belfort can sink his hips back a little, he'll look for a rear naked choke.
Very quiet crowd again, as the custom has it here in Japan. McCarthy tells them to get moving into an offensive position. On the back, and another roll by Charles.
This is the most dominant position here, is taking the opponent's back. He'll look now to get under Charles' chin. He doesn't have to, but that's where it's most effective to get the rear naked choke.
Looking for the extension here, Jeff?
That's what he's trying to do here now, is just get under the chin, get the forearm across the throat. He doesn't need it across the throat. He can cut the carotid as well. But what he needs to do now is sink it tighter, cinch it slowly tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's exactly what he's doing. He doesn't need to sprint. Incremental victories, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
Work it out.
He also would like to puff his chest out so that it again makes it tighter from the rear. It's not pulling forward on the arm, it's the pressure from the back pushing the head forward into the arm.
And how does Charles here try to counter?
Charles right now wants to try to turn into that lock to try to get his chin free. He really doesn't want to reach with his arms. It doesn't appear, though, Belfort has it sunk real tight yet. And in judo, you're allowed to choke. So Charles is familiar with chokes and is trained to defend them.
It is very quiet here inside Yokohama Arena. Belfort in the super fight here with Joe Charles, and Charles trying to regain the feet. At least he was able to avoid submission, but for how long?
Conditioning can be everything. Vitor's conditioning looks very poor in the Couture fight. And Joe Charles, being a big man, you would wonder how much energy does he have?
Now looking for the ankle lock is Joe Charles. And Belfort had the leg caught under Charles for a moment. Now the top side.
He's not striking. Vitor really is making a statement here. He could have thrown a bunch of right hand. There it is. And he's shown the world that he is capable of great submission skills. He stayed disciplined even when he had the opportunity to strike, and he ended it with a great armbar against Charles.
He made it no secret in telling us that he would like to display his grappling skills. He does it for the victory here in the super fight against Joe Charles. Vitor Belfort did not throw one punch.
He did not, and he had opportunities to do on his feet, and more important, when he had that side mount position, he was right above Charles. The hands were separated. He could have thrown punches down, and he didn't. He has made a statement saying he is a capable grappler, and he just showed us that he has good skill on the ground.
4 minutes and 13 seconds it took for Vitor Belfort to finish the match.
Looking at a replay here, Belfort's setting it up now, looking for an arm, and right there when he pushed up with the arm, he quickly stepped to the side, around the head, sunk that arm bar, and immediately put the pressure onto the elbow. Charles tapped. And right here he's just waiting. He's seeing what Charles wants to do, and you see Charles' right hand, the palm up right there. He seizes it, steps quickly across. Belfort, a very quick individual, caught Charles in the armbar.
Let's go into the octagon for the decision. Here's Bruce Buffer.
We have a winner by tap out at 4 minutes and 13 seconds. For the winner of the UFC Super Fight, Vitor Belfort! Let's have a nice hand for his opponent.
So the Brazilian phenom, who lost 7 pounds since his last matchup in UFC 15 to Randy Couture, came in and, as my partner Jeff Blatnick said, made a statement. He said he enjoys boxing more. It's all about striking. He wants to box for Brazil in the Olympics. He wanted to have victory here, though, inside the octagon. And to do that, he showed his great jiu-jitsu and wrestling skills and forced the submission on Joe Charles. Here's Jeff.
Vitor, congratulations. I have to ask you one question. You didn't throw a single punch. Why?
I'm trying to do the groundwork this time. I was very sick. I'm still sick, and I just did my job.
You were very effective with that armbar. Were you just waiting for Charles to reach up before you stepped across?
Yeah, it was good. It was technique.
Can we see a more improved Belfort the next time out? Will you be ready, or do you have to wait until you feel you've beaten this virus that seems to have been bothering you?
Next time I'm going to be better, no doubt.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Congratulations.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you very much, Jeff. One more look at the armbar, which ended our super fight in 4 minutes and 13 seconds. As Vitor Belfort is once again a victor. He has lost only one time in his life. That was UFC 15. Now the future remains maybe a bit brighter for Vitor Belfort. Don't forget, on the internet, you can watch this event and hear it live at our internet website, www.ufclive.com. The internet, a great area where you can access wonderful information about SEG Sports and the Ultimate Fighting Championships. And don't forget, still on our card tonight, the heavyweight championship between Randy Couture and Maurice Smith. Maurice Smith, the master striker, one of the most dangerous kickers in the world. Maurice Smith to try to defend his title tonight inside the octagon against Couture.
Maurice Smith is the magician of the octagon. Experts anticipated the striker would be little more than a punching bag for Olympic wrestler Mark Coleman in UFC 14. Smith's wizardry had the experts scratching their heads as he survived the Hammer's onslaught to conquer an exhausted, battered, and frustrated Coleman. Maurice Smith became the heavyweight champion of the world. In his first title defense, Smith faced the formidable Tank Abbott. Known for his resilience and warrior spirit, Abbott never quit in the middle of a fight until he met Smith. The champion devastated the challenger with ferocious leg kicks that immobilized Abbott and broke his will. Tonight, another challenge for Smith to see if he can keep the streak alive as he meets Randy Couture with the task of remaining champion.
Undefeated in the octagon, a record of 3-0, the natural, Randy Couture.
Voted most outstanding wrestler in America, Greco-Roman champion Randy Couture made his freestyle fighting debut in UFC 13.
Let's get it on!
He demolished pro wrestler Tony Halama. He then dominated game newcomer Steve Graham and went on to win the heavyweight tournament, combining flawless skill with ring savvy and a killer instinct. In UFC 15, he entered the octagon as an underdog against rising star Vitor Belfort. Couture shocked the world. He dominated the Brazilian firestorm and doused the flames with a flurry of devastating punches. Couture proved he is one of the toughest, finest athletes in the world. He earned the right to fight for the title, and tonight will be his chance to show that he is the man worthy of the heavyweight championship belt.
Getting set for the heavyweight tournament final. And it is a rematch of sorts between Marcus Conan Silveira and Kazushi Sakuraba. Now remember, we'll take you back a moment. Those two fought in the heavyweight tournament. And after review, the UFC sanctioning body ruled that Silveira versus Sakuraba was stopped too early. Also, an interesting part of that equation, Tank Abbott with a broken hand suffered in his victory over Anjo, and so we will see a rematch of sorts between Silveira and Sakuraba.
And that will determine the UFC heavyweight tournament champion. Sakuraba dropped to his knees. Big John McCarthy felt he was out at that point. He reached for a leg, but did not take any kind of step to a leg like you do in wrestling, what's called a drop step or penetration step. And that is why McCarthy made the call. But after reviewing the video, the sanctioning body felt that he deserved to fight again, and because of Tank's broken hand, he got that opportunity.
As always, important to stress, though, that John McCarthy has a lot of jobs, a very difficult job, but number one on his priority list is the safety of the combatants.
And we've never had a serious injury. He's done the right thing. He's made the proper calls. And when you look at the video, that left shot really does appear to rock Sakuraba, and that's when he was dropping to his knees. Immediately, John went up to stop Conan from striking him again. He probably didn't even see Sakuraba reach for the ankle.
So there is Conan Silveira. He did deliver some good strikes, and Silveira, of course, part of the Carlson Gracie family. He has made his way inside the octagon, as you see lit well here in Yokohama Arena in Yokohama, Japan.
Due to the fact that these two fighters' last fight was considered a draw, we will begin with the fighter standing to my left. He comes to us from Japan's Team Kingdom. He's a submission fighter, weighing in at 203 pounds and standing 6 feet tall. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Kazushi Sakuraba. And his opponent, standing to my right, he is the 1994 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion with a mixed martial arts record of 29-1. He stands 6 feet, 2 inches tall, and weighs in at 240 pounds. Coming to us from Miami Beach and making his UFC debut, please welcome Marcus Conan Silveira.
As it was earlier tonight, Sakuraba and Silveira, 5 years different in age. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist, 5 years older and a bit taller, much heavier, 37 pounds heavier than the 203-pound Kazushi Sakuraba, who yesterday told us he did not know height and weight. in the U.S. system. He knew it in centimeters, 180, and kilos, about 88.
Are you ready?
That's what the measuring system they use here. And we start again. Silva had success on his feet. In terms of striking, he'll probably want to go ahead and do that. And it's interesting, the Carlson Gracie camp does not use gis, and they also, with Belfort, enjoy striking. It's more of a, what they feel, a realistic sense of self-defense in the streets.
Here in the ultimate proving ground, the Octagon, the first time overseas in Yokohama, Japan. And one of two Japanese fighters, Sakuraba, is working against Conan Silva for the second time this evening.
Looking for a key lock. Sakuraba trying hard to go ahead and hook it up. Conan trying to step over to relieve the pressure to the arm and pull it out. And it appears as though he's in a balanced state here. He can't get the arm out, but Sakuraba really can't sink the key lock to get any kind of leverage to go ahead and apply submission.
Sakuraba, trained by Takumi Adachi, a man in Barcelona in the '92 Olympic Games.
Silva, you could hear him breathing heavily there. Sakuraba has him in, well, not yet.
And broke it away.
And you can see the submission skill of Sakuraba immediately tying up Conan's arm, nearly getting it with a key lock.
He was working on the lower part of the extremity on the right side of Conan Silva's body.
And interestingly enough, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, taking the back is considered the most dominant position. And it seems that Conan is in more trouble there than he is on his feet. So why would he want to stay down there would be the question.
Sakuraba and Conan continue to work. Sakuraba on his side, Conan on top.
But what he needs to do is get the arms off the waist and move them up higher on the body, try to get the hooks in, his legs in, grapevining to try to put Sakuraba down on his belly and then go for rear naked choke.
Marcus Conan Silva, to those in the U.S., Silveira, to those with the Brazilian lingo.
And here again, he's trying to get under the chin of Sakuraba and apply the rear naked choke. He's off to the side a little bit here, but it can still work.
His teammate Yoji Anjo, one of those on the side, trying to support Sakuraba. Anjo defeated by Tank Abbott, but Tank Abbott broke his hand. That is why we see these two fighters going again in our heavyweight tournament final, both in their UFC debuts. Silva, 29-1 overall in mixed martial arts. And Sakuraba, one of the Kingdom guys here in Tokyo, Japan.
First strikes of the fight here. Conan hitting Sakuraba there as Sakuraba backs out. He's now in a position to go after Conan here a little bit, but he's staying on the ankle. The Japanese loving their leg locks, ankle locks, knee bars.
Here the chess match begins to start a bit.
And it's interesting, look at him, he's hiding his head behind Conan's legs so he doesn't get struck. Lots of science to this skill, whether you're a striker or a grappler.
Sakuraba and Yoji Anjo both said no pressure to win for the Japanese audience. No us against them mentality. He told us that through his interpreter yesterday in our fight interviews. He speaks no English. Marcelo Silva, 30-year-old younger brother of Marcus, is in his corner. The 1994 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu title winner and a black belt in BJJ. And takes great pride in being a family member with Carlson Gracie. Now Sakuraba trying to take the advantage. Looking for a submission.
Armbar, that's it. Sakuraba taps out Conan Silva. Oh my Lord.
Sakuraba gets what he feels is his redemption. A chance to finish the match. And the crowd here in Japan is on its feet. Kazushi Sakuraba, 3 minutes and 40 seconds in, forces his opponent to submit.
Mike, you have to ask yourself a question. In their first encounter earlier this evening, Silva dominated on the feet with strikes. This time he chose to grapple with a submission grappler. And it was jiu-jitsu against submission grappling, and submission grappling won. They both used the armbar, but there it was Sakuraba putting it on Silva.
Here's the decision. Let's go inside the octagon to Bruce Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner of the UFC Superfight, the winner by tap out is Kazushi Sakuraba!
The heavyweight tournament title winner,
The heavyweight
Sakuraba.
elimination tournament medal is Mr. Robert Meyerowitz, CEO
Silva staying on the bottom, trying to hang on to a key lock, but when Sakuraba moved all the way around to the other side, all he needed to do was step across the body. There he gets the head, starts to apply the pressure real hard, keeping Silva's head down, extends the elbow, submission.
And he wins the heavyweight tournament final against Conan Silva with the submission at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And a great show of respect by Sakuraba to SEG CEO Bob Meyerowitz and also to referee John McCarthy. No controversy any longer. The fight of earlier is now a fight of past. This is the one which truly will give the record and the victory to Kazushi Sakuraba. Also at this time, we should compliment a great match fought by Tank Abbott against Joji Anjo. David Tank Abbott broke a hand early in the match, was not able to return. Abbott certainly will be back in future UFCs, and Sakuraba has proved this point.
Oh, without a doubt, the submission grappler from Japan gave the hometown crowd something really big to cheer about. He is the tournament heavyweight champion here in Ultimate Japan.
Well, a climax is reached in every show here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and here in Ultimate Japan we have one of the most highly touted bouts in our heavyweight championship in UFC history. Randy, the Natural Couture, will take on the master striker Maurice Smith for the heavyweight championship here in Ultimate Japan. Tonight, the road to the championship ends here in Japan. Undefeated UFC heavyweight champion Maurice Smith showed that when it comes to winning, it's not the style, it's the man. He's a brilliant ring tactician who uses brains and brawn. Smith proved he can think on his feet and on his back. He staked his claim to the respect of fans throughout the world with his knockout upset by devastating roundhouse kick to the neck of Carlos Gracie superstar Conan Silva. With his win in Extreme Fighting's last tournament, Smith earned the right to fight for the UFC's heavyweight title against Mark Coleman, an Olympic wrestler thought to be invincible. The master grappler had a simple solution for anyone who dared to challenge him for the belt. Ground him and pound him.
Coleman, double leg. Headbutts. Right hands by Coleman. Big right hands by Coleman.
Experts said that in Smith, Coleman had just another punching bag. A stand-up striker who could be taken down and out. But Smith shocked the world and rocked the Olympian, taking the fight the distance and into 2 full overtimes that saw Coleman pushed past the brink of exhaustion. Smith not only survived Coleman's fierce attack, he weathered it brilliantly and in style.
Maurice Smith, a phenomenal performance in the octagon.
For his first title defense, Smith took on Octagon legend Tank Abbott when Dan Severn injured his hand. Abbott is famous for his heart, his willingness to fight anyone, and his sheer refusal to surrender unless there's no way out. But Smith did what no other fighter has done. With the loss looming and his body taking a fierce beating from the champion, Abbott called it quits, telling referee John McCarthy he'd had enough. Tonight, Smith takes on the challenger of challengers in world champion Greco-Roman grappler Randy Couture. Couture made his debut in UFC 13, showing that he could easily defeat Finnish wrestler Tony Halama and game newcomer Stephen Graham. Already a heavyweight tournament winner,
Couture was still the heavy underdog against Vitor Belfort and UFC 15. No one thought Couture could beat the Brazilian, but Belfort met up with the most dangerous kind of fighter, a world-class wrestler who knows how to punch. Couture brought a strategy into the octagon that he followed until he won. In the process, he earned the right to fight for the title in Ultimate Japan. Smith knows that winning is only half the battle. Staying the champion is the real challenge. Couture knows that in Maurice Smith, he faces the toughest, smartest freestyle fighter in the world. Tonight, the questions get answered in the perfect matchup of the top two gladiators in mixed martial arts. Randy Couture, the challenger, against Maurice Smith, the champion. UFC presents Ultimate Japan.
And very soon, the two main combatants will enter the octagon. Maurice Smith, the Iceman, against the natural Randy Couture. Here in Ultimate Japan, the climax of a great night of interesting action. Jeff Blatnick, Mike Goldberg back here ringside. The natural, Maurice Smith, the Iceman. The one thing very common with these two competitors, they have excellent conditioning.
Oh, without a doubt, I don't think conditioning is going to really be a factor for either one of these fighters. Maurice Smith has shown us that conditioning is one of the tools he uses to win. Randy Couture, a Greco-Roman national champion, still competing in Greco-Roman wrestling, is a highly conditioned athlete as well. I think both of these fighters are going to be able to go the distance if the fight turns out to go that way.
It's interesting. Tonight we haven't had a lot of opportunities to mention the word cross-training, but truly all of these fighters now cross-train. They have one discipline that they're excellent in, but others they are very good in. We truly see that in our heavyweight championship matchup.
Oh, without a doubt. Maurice Smith, the consummate striker, Muay Thai kickboxer, someone that has done very well in the past, winning championships with the legs, knees, and fists. He has formed an alliance with Frank Shamrock to learn submission grappling, and we saw his effectiveness in the guard, keeping Coleman from going ahead and striking him out when Coleman launched a furious barrage of strikes. But that guard was able to lead to eventually Maurice getting to his feet. Coleman exhausted himself trying to knock Maurice Smith out in those early minutes, and that eventually was his undoing as Maurice Smith's conditioning got him back to his feet, and he was able to strike effectively to win. I think with Randy Couture, he learned a lesson watching that Coleman fight. He is a consummate grappler, very good at takedowns, but again, submission games is something new for wrestling, and they need to cross-train, one, to understand what they are, but two, use them as a weapon. Randy also did some boxing in the Army. They're known as smokers, interdivisional competitions and such, and we saw Randy do such an effective job against Vitor Belfort, neutralizing the Brazilian's quick hands. So really, this is a great contrast. I really am looking forward to this fight, and I really think if Couture winds up taking Smith down, he will not sprint like Coleman did to try to end the fight, but have more composure, take his time.
Yeah, push the pace is something the natural used to do. He may not push the pace as much tonight against Maurice Smith. This is what it is all about, the Ultimate Fighting Championship belt. Frank Shamrock is already taken his in the middleweight, and now a heavyweight will be the Ultimate Fighting Champion. Already, Maurice Smith has won 2 matches here in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He beat Tank Abbott. He also defeated Mark Coleman in UFC 14. It's the honoring of America here. Now inside the octagon is fifth
Ladies and
UFC.
gentlemen,
Here's Bruce Buffer.
This is the event you've all been waiting for. This is for the UFC Heavyweight Championship of the World. Beginning with the fighter standing to my right. He is a three-time United States National Greco-Roman Wrestling Champion, a three-time All-American, a two-time NCAA finalist, and the winner of the UFC 13 Heavyweight Tournament. Standing 6 feet, 1 inch tall, and fighting out of Corvallis, Oregon, he is the Ultimate Fighting Championships #1 ranked heavyweight contender. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Randy the Natural Couture. And to my left, he is a former heavyweight kickboxing champion and Muay Thai champion with a professional record of 48-5-2 with 35 by knockout. Coming to us from Seattle, Washington, he stands 6 feet, 2 inches tall and weighs in at 220 pounds. He is the reigning UFC Heavyweight Champion of the World, Maurice Smith!
One of our two featured matchups, the heavyweight championship between Randy Couture and Maurice Smith, the Greco-Roman wrestler against the kickboxer, learning submission. Tail of the tape shows you one thing. It shows you this match is basically dead even. 34 and 36 ages, forget about it. They're in excellent condition. Both these fighters are almost exactly the same size.
I agree with you. The only difference really is their background in disciplines. I think the keys to win for Randy Couture: take advantage of clinches and ties to strike using punches or knees. Take down Smith clean so he doesn't get caught with any strikes on the way in. Be effective in the guard. In other words, try to pass it so you can get strikes as soon as he gets that clean takedown. And to be a patient, aggressive athlete.
It is underway. The heavyweight championship in the UFC. Smith, the striker, on his feet, can be devastating. And those leg kicks feel like a baseball bat, coming at your legs at 85 miles an hour. He is truly the most accomplished kickboxer in the world. And now still trying to strike. Couture obviously would like to take it to the ground as soon as possible.
Randy's pressuring quite a bit. He ate a right hand right there. I think the keys to win for Maurice Smith: catch Couture coming in, and he did with that strike he just used. A good guard defense if he winds up on the ground, which he is now. But he's backed up against the fence, and actually, he's got a guillotine. The start of the guillotine, he needs to get the arm in front. Actually, he doesn't have his arms locked yet, but he's in a position where he might be able to. He has to make, I feel, in order to win,
sit up on the fence, Mo.
use of his knees, something
Try to sit up,
has
butt
not
on the
seen.
fence.
Neither fighter has ever been defeated in the UFC. Couture is 3-0.
Got a good grip, baby.
The champion Maurice, 2-0. He beat Tank in 15, Mark Coleman in 14. Couture had the upset victory in UFC 15 in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi against Vitor Belfort.
There's a knee by Couture. He might have the opportunity to continue the knee there if Maurice wants to face him on his side. And he turns to his back now. Couture on the side mount.
Now Maurice knew in his heart of hearts eventually he would find himself in this position, with Couture taking it to the ground. And you talked to Maurice, Jeff, he said, I've got to remain very patient and not panic in this predicament.
And we will see how good his defense is in the guard here, because Couture got the lesson from Coleman's fight with Maurice Smith: not to sprint, don't be too aggressive. The whole way of winning in the grappling on the ground is incremental victories, small ones. Keep getting better and better position until you're in a position to either strike or go for a submission lock.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Bout, because if you will remember back to UFC 14, Mark Coleman seemed to punish Maurice Smith for a matter of minutes, 6-7 minutes into that match, and then fatigue started to set in. It did go the distance, both overtimes, and we should mention this bout time for the championship, 15 minutes with 2 3-minute overtimes if needed. Both fighters, I think, are prepared to go a long time and conditioned to be able to do so. The alliance is evident as Frank Shamrock trying to talk to his new partner, Maurice Smith,
Try and get a knee in
forming
there,
the
Mo.
alliance.
It's a great combination. Master striker grappler, master striker hooking up with master submission grappler, and they're really now the middleweight champion, and Maurice defends the heavyweight champion, both in the same camp, both training together.
It's interesting. Both kind of said, especially Frank Shamrock, it's like a kid at Christmas. They both have new toys to try to use. And this would be an area where Shamrock would be efficient on his back, trying to stay in the guard, but now Couture trying to strike. Remember, Maurice Smith is a kickboxer, though, Jeff. He has sustained many strikes in his fighting career.
Oh, Maurice, without a doubt, is a better striker, but at the same time, he doesn't want to give Couture some free shots. Now there was a key lock by Randy Couture trying to bend the arm back. He needs to elevate the elbow in order to make it better. Now he's in a full mount.
In the meantime, Smith was able to get the left arm free, but he lost the guard as it was passed.
That's a great analysis. That's exactly what he did. He threatened in one area and then used it to be dominant in another, and that was going from the side to the full mount. Now let's see if Randy's going to be able to use it to his advantage, and I look for him to start to strike down.
Now remember, Maurice Smith is the first striker to emerge as a champion, but Couture defeated Vitor Belfort with punches, and I know we were all surprised to see that in UFC 15. So he has proven he is very proficient at that. We're about 3 minutes deep into our heavyweight matchup, now just over 4 minutes into the heavyweight championship.
What we're looking at right here is called a grapevine. Couture outside, coming in and hooking his ankles on the inside of the shins of Maurice Smith. The problem is when you lock that out, you keep your chest down on your opponent. You can't raise yourself up to strike, and that's why he keeps unlocking him. He's looking for an opportunity to come up and strike Maurice Smith with either elbow or probably punch. But Maurice Smith's guard here is very effective. Couture having a hard time of just simply breaking through and getting clean strikes. He was able to get to the mount, but thus far he hasn't been real effective in terms of offense. Maurice Smith's defense right now is still keeping him from being hit.
Now Smith has said also that he will strike from the bottom, and he'll take strikes just to hit something. He can be more dominant at times from the bottom. As we said, expect it to be a long fight. So Smith also, although it looks like the full mount is dominant, will take his opportunity from down low as he gets back into a half guard to try to get his strikes in on the natural Randy Couture.
And that's what's going to be a problem. If Couture's in the mount, he's too far forward really for Maurice to elbow. It has to be a punch, and the only way that can happen is if Randy raises up, which means he's in a position to punch too. But if he gets the guard on Couture, Couture will be down on his body with his head to the chest or towards the stomach, and then Maurice's elbows can come into play to go ahead and strike. He can also throw a punch straight down along his body. It may not have a lot of power, but what you're really looking for with these kinds of strikes is an accumulative effect or an opportunity for Maurice to punch there and then maybe get off his back to his feet where he can bring his striking skills into play.
You know, it's interesting, you talked about incremental and small wins in these matchups, and the people at home, some of them may not realize that, but little by little, Randy Couture trying to work the left leg out, not just pull it out of the half guard applied by Smith right now, but little by little, just trying to shake it free.
Well, right now he's really conceding that guard. He's not working to pull that leg out yet, but you're correct, absolutely. The only way you can get that out is to go ahead and wiggle your foot slowly, release the pressure Maurice has on it. You can see it's hooked at the ankle right there. And Randy, you know, if he wastes a lot of energy trying to pull it out, it's frustrating. And that's the one thing you don't want to have happen in a fight, is getting frustrated. If you can't remove it, work on something else until the opportunity to remove it presents itself. And now he's in a guard. Maurice has gotten him back into the guard, and now you'll look to go ahead, and this is where Maurice can strike.
He's got him high, but so can Randy Couture, right? And Couture tries to. Now a kick up towards the face. And an elbow. There's the strike from the bottom we anticipated we might see from Maurice Smith. It did no damage, though, on Randy Couture. Although they always talk about it. I know what you're going to say, partner.
I'll tell you,
it always does a little damage.
That's right. It may not be physical, but what it is mental. Randy now is going to be extremely cautious when he raises himself up there of eating a heel or eating a Maurice Smith punch. And so in a way, that may remove a weapon that Maurice has to worry about. But I think Maurice is trying to get Randy to go ahead and raise up. He wants him to do that. And now that's going to confuse Couture. I think what he needs to do is go back to passing the guard and try to get to the mount position.
Let's do something.
Both have enjoyed their week with family and friends here in a great host country and a great host city in Shin, Yokohama, Japan, and it all culminates in this, as Couture is now in the guard of Smith, trying to deliver blows, and there's just a quick jab into Randy Couture. It's like two big trees trying to knock each other down. We have now fought over 8 minutes, 8 of the 15 minutes here in our heavyweight championship for the UFC Ultimate Japan title. Again, the striker from his feet trying to use some shots, and it looks like Couture might have got one in on Smith on the way back down.
I'm very impressed with Smith's grappling. I really feel his alliance with Frank has helped him immensely. His training with the Lions Den, Ken Shamrock, over the last couple years has made this consummate striker also a grappler. So he's a striker-learned grappler. He's the first one to do that in the UFC, and you have to wonder, is he the prototype of more athletes to come?
Smith almost was able to get back to his feet. Now Couture trying to get to the back and rolling right quickly into his guard again with Smith, and you could hear Shamrock in the corner, roll, yelling out instructions.
That's the most dominant position for a rear naked choke. Randy didn't seize it right away, gave Maurice the opportunity to go ahead and roll back.
Nobody working right now. No stall yet, but John McCarthy will keep the fighters moving. It can be a resting position in your guard for Maurice Smith.
Now, what was interesting is Maurice also said, I don't think the mount is dominant for me. I think the guard is dominant for me, and that is because, one, he's a great heel striker there, able to kick from his back, and two, the elbows. When he has a person trapped in the guard who tries to work on passing the guard and moves down towards the legs, he is throwing elbows and punches and scoring there. So he actually likes the guard position better than the side mount, better than the mount.
Cross training so evident in both of these fighters. Couture made his first trip to Japan with his wife Tricia, and Maurice Smith has been here many times. The 36-year-old, hugely popular in this country, as he has fought in many pancrase and ring tournaments through his kickboxing career from Seattle, Washington.
The other thing that's very impressive about Maurice Smith is he's not laying in the guard. He's not just sitting there waiting for Randy to do something. He's staying active, he's posting arms, he's hooking legs, he's baiting him into trying to raise up and throwing strikes. At the same time, Couture has been, one, aggressive. He is trying to work from this position, but it doesn't seem that he can pass the guard, particularly this half guard. When Maurice Smith locks his ankles up around Randy's ankles, it's stuck there. Can't move.
Under 5 minutes now remaining, Jeff. 23 years of wrestling experience for Randy Couture. He is used to displaying a level of patience. He knew tonight would be a chess match, and it would be all about control.
And if you try to sprint against Maurice Smith, you are wasting energy. And Randy Couture knew that. He knew he had to be composed here. Don't try to rush anything.
Oh, there's some shots. Yep. And now looking for some elbow strikes is Randy Couture, working on the head of Maurice Smith.
And that has been the best sequence thus far for Randy Couture. None of them were brutal shots, but they were good shots, and he had a few of them there in a row. And certainly that got Maurice Smith's attention. He began flailing there to try to beat the position so that he could get back to his defense.
A little blood coming out of the right nostril of Maurice Smith as the elbow strikes effective there. As you said, the best flurry so far in the matchup by Randy, the natural Couture.
And again, he's in that half guard.
Quick strike to the backside by Smith.
I think Randy will take one of those if he can improve his position. I mean, it's a very short punch, doesn't have a lot to it, but Smith, a good striker, it probably does have a little bit of a sting attached to it.
Kevin Jackson, interesting, he fought earlier tonight, said, you know, you have to, a lot of times before you make a move, weigh the positives and negatives, the potential risk of any particular small incremental move you might make in a match of competitors so highly talented.
It's my belief that wrestlers do have to learn submission, and the simple reason why is all of the rules that govern the sport of wrestling prevent you from doing submission. So it isn't something that any of these athletes really train at. Until they get involved with mixed martial arts, they don't do submission grappling. And now, oh, and Couture, great job. It looked as though Smith was going to get away, Couture, with his wrestling ability, able to seize control again with a quick shot as they separated. And again, Smith is on his back, Couture in his guard.
Approaching regulations period time to end. We have just about under 3 minutes remaining in the 15 minutes of regulation. We would then have 2 3-minute overtime periods. As the master striker is down on the bottom now, trying to keep his guard tight, pushed up against the fence of the octagon. Couture is trying to strike. Smith, as we have seen already, can strike from the down position on his back.
A couple strikes there by Couture.
Now Couture trying to work free the left hand. And under 2 minutes remains in regulation of the heavyweight championship. This is truly the ultimate of ultimate fights tonight, and truly the ultimate of 2 elite athletes who are cross-trained.
Come on, Mo, keep them knees up. Knee him in his head, knee him in his side.
Very quiet here in the building, watching the tacticians work.
They respect the skills of these athletes. All mixed martial arts competition are treated this way over here in Japan. Quiet being respect for the fighters, respect for the fighting.
Oh, there's a left hand. 2 or 3 left hands, and now taking the top. Rolling to the back and rolling back down is Maurice Smith.
Well, I felt Maurice took the fight to Couture early with some good strikes. Couture got the takedowns, which means I felt that he was ahead on the grappling, perhaps. And now striking on the ground, it seems as though Couture is starting to get himself in a position. This is still a very close fight. I'm not saying anyone is ahead, but certainly it seems as though Couture is starting to build as he's flurrying those little shots into Maurice's head.
Under a minute now remains, Jeff. Here in the regulation time period. Remember the criteria of the judges when they make a decision is on aggressiveness, striking, grappling. Judges here this evening have already rendered 1 decision in the matchups.
And it's hard to say who's aggressive. I think Maurice has been very active in the guard, and I think Randy Couture has been very active in trying to stay on top and take him down. Grappling-wise, I give it to Couture. Striking, it's very, very even. Couture's been able to punch down when he gets to the mount position and from some positions in the guard, but Maurice has also been able to strike on the feet and on the ground.
Now under 30 seconds remaining here in regulation of the championship bout for the title. 2-time defending champion Maurice Smith trying to win his 3rd title. 10 seconds now. As time's starting to tick down.
And this is going to be interesting. I really think now this isn't just a big advantage for Maurice Smith here getting back to his feet. It can also be an advantage for Couture. He may be able to get some takedowns and help build his grappling, where Maurice Smith, obviously, on his feet, is going to look to go ahead and strike. Both feel they may be in a position. Both are hanging out of the fence, both taking a little bit of water. This has been a very skilled, very calculated fight thus far. No one has ever had the clear upper hand at any time. Smith struck early and a few times on the ground. Couture was able to take him down and then eventually led to a few flurries of strikes while in Maurice Smith's guard. So it's a tight fight. Very tough to call.
Couture, part of the Raw team, Real American Wrestlers. His son Ryan is a first-year wrestler in high school now. He said he's a tough kid, likes to fight, doesn't ask for advice, and Randy said it's harder for me to watch him than him to watch me. He is watching Dad tonight.
Both have
in Oregon.
Both have their mouths open breathing, so both are sucking a little bit of wind, but you have to wonder here, Maurice Smith likes to strike from his feet. Can Randy knock him out?
There's a big hit with the leg, but Randy goes right for the single leg. But that, again, punishment with those chops to the leg on the big kick of the master striker.
It's a trade-off. Couture said, kick me, I'll take you down, and that's exactly what happened. Hard to say who wins that exchange.
You could hear that one here, though. That one definitely hit the leg of Couture.
Maurice again adds points to striking. Couture adds points to grappling. Who's more aggressive? They both went after each other. This is a tough fight.
Excellent point, because those are our 3 criteria that the judges will have to render a decision possibly on here tonight, Jeff.
Oh, right there might have been an opportunity for Maurice Smith to knee, and instead Couture brings a knee up to the side and belts Maurice in the side of the head. I felt knees might be the biggest thing for Maurice Smith to win. It's the only thing Couture really hasn't seen of him.
Side mount now for Couture.
Right now. Oh, okay. Circle your hips.
Can he strike Maurice Smith
Keep working.
from this position?
You're doing good. Good work.
An elbow one way, an elbow the other.
Well, Maurice's elbow had nothing. I mean, he has no place to put that elbow against Couture's hip or ribs. And really, Randy's was more just to make Maurice stop.
As Frank Shamrock looks on.
Let's
listen.
Okay, you gotta set him up for it.
Keep your elbow on him.
Make your strike now. Make your strike. Don't let him wear on you.
You hear him yelling elbows, but neither are in a good position to get any kind of power or any really room to get an elbow started.
Cover him up in there.
Couture should look to try to strike here. That's his way back in again with striking points. Maurice an effective guard, but right now he hasn't tried to do anything to improve from this position.
Let's work it. Let's work.
Under a minute now remaining in overtime session number 1. We're approaching 18 minutes of match time. We said both of these athletes excellently conditioned. It is proving to be an accurate point in our match here.
Well, I don't think either one of these guys are gonna fag out in terms of conditioning. I think their cardio is right up there. The big problem here is going to be whether or not one of them can get a big bomb in, where you saw Maurice's heavy leg kick, but at the same time, Couture got the takedown. So it is just small pluses here and there, and it's up to the judges to add them up.
15 seconds now remaining in overtime number 1. Neither competitor ever defeated in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. 3-0 for the natural Randy Couture, 2-0 for Maurice Smith, who in 17 years of competition has never lost a title defense. 4-0 in mixed martial arts events, and now ready to head to a second overtime. Any clear advantage so far?
I don't feel there's a clear advantage. I mean, aggressiveness, they're both aggressive. Striking, maybe Maurice, I don't know. It's up to the judges to decide that. Grappling, I think you have to say Couture, because he's gotten the takedowns. He's been able to pass Maurice Smith's guard. He's been able to control Maurice Smith on the ground, but hasn't really gotten to a position of superior advantage where you can really finish him with either a submission hold or any kind of a strike. This is really too close to call.
The original mixed match martial arts tournament here in the birthplace of martial arts, and our heavyweight championship bout has come to this. For the martial artist, this is truly the top of the mountain. The question is, if it continues to go the full 3 minutes of our second overtime, who will be crowned the heavyweight champion? Who will stand at the top of the mountain?
3 minutes separate these two superb fighters. The grappler turned striker versus the striker turned grappler.
See you guys do something. Are you ready?
Here we go, John. Big John McCarthy starts our second overtime. Smith Couture. In the 18th minute. Man with the master striker likes to stay on his feet for a bit. Couture covering up his face very well with the left hand. Oh, there's a shot. It just snuck in. Did not get the chin, though, on a square hit by Maurice Smith.
I have to wonder, you have to ask yourself, does Randy want to move forward into something or draw Maurice Smith to him? He either wants to get inside and clinch or get Maurice Smith to chase him and then come under him. Get momentum coming to him so he can get the takedown.
And strikes are points here, too, in the ref's decision. And so is grappling and takedowns. And there it is once again. The wrestler brings this game down to the ground.
Oh, there's something unique. He went ahead and kneed him from, it's not a mount, it's more of a side mount, even though he's out front a little bit.
So some good strikes landed by Maurice Smith. And now again the match taken to the ground. And under 2 minutes remains here now in overtime. In our match.
Randy's locked around his head. He's got it real tight, the arm to the head. Maurice really can't move, and there's pressure there. You can see Maurice is not comfortable. Is it a submission lock that he's going to tap out of? That's tough to tell. I don't think it's that tight. He's trying to set up that knee, but all he's doing is catching his thigh on the top of Randy's head. No damage.
There's the knee.
Oh, a couple great knees by Randy Couture there.
3 left knees into the top of the head. Not the back of the head, but the top of the head, and that's okay.
Get him up the fence and knee on him.
This has been
Smith's up near the fence.
such a calculated fight. This has just been little victories here and there for both fighters. Tough call for the judges, but the one thing you always say about a championship fight, the challenger has to take it from the champ. This has been very close. Randy scored some great knees, a couple punches there, so maybe that might be enough in the judges' eyes. Who's to say?
Under a minute now to go. These two competitors, the ultimate of ultimate fighters, it looks very much now are going to go the distance. 21 minutes.
The one thing you have to say, though, this fight has basically taken place on the ground. Couture's land, not Smith's. That may weigh in the judge's decision. But I'm not saying that's the biggest factor. I think Maurice has done a great job of defense against Couture.
30 seconds now remains.
But he has not been able to bring his best weapons to bear. Just a couple punches, maybe 1 or 2 kicks at best.
Couture with such great quickness, able to shoot towards the legs each time that Smith leaned in just that slight bit to throw a strike. It looks very much now that the decision is going to be rendered by the judges ultimately. 10 seconds remains. 5 seconds now.
And this is going to go to the judges. What a great fight. What a great fight. Two conditioned, two superior athletes. Maurice Smith doesn't look real confident. Neither does Randy. Neither is showing anyone that they feel they are the winner. I give grappling to Couture. I give aggressiveness to both. Might be able to hedge that to Couture because he was able to get to the positions he wanted. Striking, I think, is basically even. So it's going to be a tough call.
Mr. Fukasi from Shuto, the Japanese fighting organization, John Peretti, former kickboxing champion, and our alternate referee, Joe Hamilton, our judges tonight. Aggressiveness, striking, and grappling. The 3 criteria that will soon render our decision as the heavyweight championship belt will be awarded. We are awaiting the decision here inside the octagon. Bruce Buffer will soon share it with all here inside Yokohama Arena and those viewing Ultimate Japan on pay-per-view.
It's hard to tell. Neither one of them look as though they want that they've won. Maurice, though, does look like he has it.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 overtimes, we have to go to the judges' cards for a decision. One judge has it, a draw. 2 judges show the winner and new UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Randy the Natural Couture.
So for the first time in 17 years of competition, Maurice Smith has lost the title defense. One judge, as Bruce said, called the fight a draw. The other 2 give the nod to the natural, Randy Couture. And Randy Couture is now the king of the hill. He's at the top of the ultimate mountain. He is the heavyweight champion in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
Of UFCJ, along with
now in the ring is Jeff Platnick with Maurice Smith.
Maurice, it was a tough loss, a judge's decision. Really, one of them had it a draw. Your thoughts on the outcome?
Well, basically all Randy did was held me down very good. That's it. I mean, he got a couple shots, I got a couple shots. The draw seemed about right. All he did was control the bottom. If that's big, making a fight, win or lose, I can't say that's a good decision. I look at it like he got 2 strikes. And basically, like I say, just wrestling, holding me, which he's just very good at. But I don't see him better. He shouldn't beat me up.
In all honesty, though, he did get a few shots in with his knees, few with the strikes. What do you think the judge's determining factor was?
Just he's on top a lot, that's all. Basically control. The knees, nothing hurt me. If you count the scoring, that's fine. But, it's okay. I mean, I'll get back again. I'm not worried about it. Because I said, he had good control, and I kept him in the ground very long, and that was it. That was the main thing.
Maurice, you've been a class act all this time.
I'll be back. Don't worry. I'll be back.
And that was my next question. When would you think we can see you again?
On the next fight, probably. I'm not... Yeah, of course, I'm sort of John McCarthy. But, like I said, that's the way it goes, and I'm not going to sit and cry about it. He held me in the ground very well, and that's the deciding factor. It is a kind of grappling sport, but he did a good job.
Congratulations, Maurice. Great effort out there.
Good for John. I mean, good for...
Well, what a great former champion and what a great competitor here in the UFC. And there is the new champion being interviewed now inside the octagon by Japanese television. As tonight was a monumental night, the UFC going global. It's a night where Nippon TV here on the island of Japan has televised this entire set of matchups live. And inside the ring right now is the new heavyweight champion of the UFC, Randy the Natural Couture. Jeff will wait, as we all have, with great respect to our Japanese friends, and attempt to get an interview with the winner momentarily. And don't forget, we come back stateside. Coming up March 13th, UFC 16. Who will be on the card then? It'll be interesting to see who will take care of the natural Randy Couture, as he will for the first time have the opportunity to defend the heavyweight championship. It comes your way at 9 p.m. on the 13th, and it is in New Orleans. UFC 16. And there is the heavyweight championship belt, worn for the first time by the natural Randy Couture, up with a champion of his own.
Randy, congratulations. A very calculated fight, a very close fight. Your thoughts?
First, I'd like to thank God for all his blessings on me, and a Merry Christmas. I knew it was going to be a very close fight. I think I said that in my interview. A lot of guys came out and they tried to devastate Maurice right off, and he's too composed and too conditioned to do that. I knew it was going to be a matter of being able to take him down and control him. I expected it to go long. I figured it would. No one had did any damage to him in the past, and I didn't expect that I'd be able to either. I'd hoped he'd make a mistake and give me a chance to put a submission on. He stayed in real good position. He gave me his back one time, and right away he rolled off and before I could put anything on him. So it was a great fight.
What do you think the deciding factor was for the judges to award you the decision?
I don't know. I guess he got a few shots in on his feet, but other than that, he really didn't get a chance to do anything to me. He just tried to tie me up on the mat as best he could and hoped I'd spend a lot of energy. You know, I was tired, but I knew he was tired too, and was pretty controlled. So I think that was the difference, just the control. The position was on the mat.
Did you really ever feel in your fourth mixed martial arts competition, match competition, did you feel that you would be the heavyweight champion of the UFC?
No, it's a big surprise. I kind of, something I just wanted to try, and it ended up getting in because another guy got hurt, so it's kind of been a fairy tale for me. Just try to take it one fight at a time, and this is where we ended up, so it's a real great surprise for me.
Well, you showed great composure here in the octagon. You never really lost your head. You never really got outside of yourself. Is that really a reflection of your personality?
That, and I just think years of competition in wrestling. This is just one more competition for me, and I think that high level of competition makes a big difference when you get into the scrambles in here.
Well, a lot of people want to get to know Randy. You showed no emotion, and you're now the heavyweight champion. You know, some people want you to see you walking the tightrope around the octagon. Again, you're very, very, it almost seems shy and modest.
I guess that's just me. I'm not real big on showboating or talking or running my mouth. I like to compete, and that's what I came here to do, and I was fortunate to win.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again defending your belt.
Thank you, Jeff.
Back to you, Mike.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. And undefeated and now the heavyweight champion of the UFC is Randy Couture. He joins great champions like Royce Gracie, Dan Severn, Marco Rujas, Don Fry, Mark Coleman, and Maurice Smith. And now Randy Couture, the natural, will defend his heavyweight championship belt coming up in UFC 16 in March in New Orleans. Couture doing a great job in taking this match down to the ground.
Well, on the ground is Couture's game. Early on, he was able to control Maurice Smith, and Maurice did his best to try to come out and get back to the feet so he could use his strikes. But Couture, the master grappler, able to get back to his legs and double leg him back down to his back. This is where most of the fight occurred, and perhaps that is what swayed the judges, is that Couture was able to keep the fight on the ground. And in terms of striking, Maurice being known for his, here Randy Couture uses knees to be able to hit Maurice in the head, and perhaps that may have been the difference in who the judges gave the striking to. But Couture, a great champion now, celebrating his first ever UFC heavyweight title.
And Randy Couture, the natural, the highlight moment of this evening's matchup, just one of the many great highlights we saw in our matchup this evening. Jeff, Tank Abbott came in. He was victorious against Japanese fighter Yoji Anjo, but yet broke a hand and couldn't try to fight for the heavyweight title.
That's correct, and when you can't advance, they have to go ahead and find an alternate. Because of the controversy surrounding Sakuraba versus Conan Silva early, they went ahead and had a rematch for the finals, and it was Sakuraba able to go ahead and beat the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at submission, and he was able to defeat Conan with an armbar.
Speaking of submission, how surprised were we tonight to see Vitor Belfort not throw a single punch in victory over the judo master Joe Charles?
Well, I think he wanted to prove to everyone that he was good on the ground. Joe Charles, a veteran of the UFC with a 2-1 record, 38 years old and a big guy, and rightfully Belfort didn't throw one punch. He was able to submit Joe Charles with an armbar, showing us that he does have good grappling skills, but he looked pretty winded and he admitted he's still sick. We still have not seen the best of Vitor Belfort.
Trey Telligman with the submission in the alternate matchup against UFC newcomer, and a good showing in the newcomer category for Brad Kohler. And then, of course, our middleweight champion is Frank Shamrock, making quick work out of Olympic gold medalist Kevin Jackson.
I mean, that I think is the biggest surprise. A lot of people thought Jackson would just blow right through Frank Shamrock, particularly using some strikes when he took him down. Shamrock conceded he probably would get taken down, but what nobody realized is how good Frank Shamrock is at submission skills. And you saw how quickly he taught Kevin Jackson not to leave an extended arm out in front of him, took full advantage. He is now the middleweight champion of the UFC.
Today, the country of Japan. In March, we will be back in New Orleans. Shin Yokohama, a great host to a great Ultimate Japan here tonight, here in their showcase arena, as the fighters came out and they fought to the ultimate. And in the end, Maurice Smith no longer the champion. The championship now belongs to the natural Randy Couture. It was a night full of many highlights, none bigger than the top contender, Randy the Natural Couture, defeating Maurice Smith for the heavyweight championship of the UFC, going the distance 21 minutes, earning the judge's decision. The biggest surprise of the night, Kazushi Sakuraba, the Japanese fighter who had his first bout against Conan Silva, stopped early only to seek and earn redemption. Unquestionably, Vitor Belfort, the Brazilian phenom, is back. Never threw a punch in victory over judo Joe Charles. But maybe the most impressive win of the night was Frank Shamrock's 22-second defeat of Olympic champion Kevin Jackson. The Alliance, the submission specialist, alive and now out of older brother Ken Shadow. It was a good night for the Master of Masters, Tank Abbott, who defeated Yoji Anjo in the heavyweight tournament but was unable to continue because of a broken hand. Undoubtedly, we will see Tank Abbott, the brawler, the most feared man in the UFC again. But this night ends with a new champion, Randy Couture, from the state of Oregon, a natural champion, a natural-born winner. He stole the hearts of those in Shin Yokohama. So for my partner Jeff Blatnick and a fine crew here in Japan, I'm Mike Goldberg saying so long, see you in New Orleans.